Dojan! Hello everybody, I am Here's the Jambi. Today we will be talking about Garden of Sinners. Chapter 3, with Dakota Redheart, and that. Alright, real quick, let's get Dakota in the call. Queen. It appears that is true.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm totally not eating pizza right now.
I don't believe you.
Here, maybe the crunch will convince you. Okay.
What crunch?
Almost. Oh, it wasn't really. It didn't really make a noise. Didn't pick up.
Nope.
Oh well. How you doing, JMB?
I'm doing alright. Just got off of work, just got home, just got things set up. And trying to figure out what the fuck to do for next week. Question mark?
You scheduling for next week?
Yeah, I post my schedule for this coming week. And I'm kind of excited for a lot of things. I'm excited to play more Stick of Truth tomorrow. I'm excited to do first watch party in like almost a year.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was fun when we do it.
Yeah, depression is a bitch, and then at the same time, it literally just became you and me the entire like half of last year. What else? What else? What else? What else? A tutu. As a
the trade.
A woo woo.
Now, just thinking of like that Stan Lee joke in Teen Titans Go, where he's like, one of my famous subtle cameos, but it's like the train. But I'm doing good. I've been messing around with the art software I got recently, and
nice.
been practicing animating, and I'm like, oh shit, I can just animate, and now I have the sudden urge to revive my cinematic universe.
Do it.
Maybe.
Do it.
Maybe I'll get popular enough and Glitch will hire me.
That'd be awesome, not gonna lie. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Garden of Sinners Chapter 3. It has a kick in the pants opening, that's for sure. So how Garden of Sinners. So let's all right. Look at reviews. So I found a little bit of a rubric for us to go over when we're discussing this kind of stuff. And so I'm looking at it, and like step 3, provide a short summary to give readers and listeners a sense of the story. So we introduced to a new character who is named Fujino Asagami, and she is an eye ability user similar to Shiki. And then Fujino is a... So the reason why Garden of Sinners is called Garden of Sinners is because the city that they live in is just full of people who are just sinful in more than one way. Shiki loves to murder for the... Actually, I don't think... the reason why Shiki does it has been revealed yet, per se, but Fujino, when she murders, it's revealed that she wants to feel the sense of pain that she cannot normally feel because of certain circumstances. And then and that's basically a decent summary.
Mm,
It shows that one of the main characters, Mikia, uh,
mm,
he's like a magnet for just getting himself. It's like those harem anime where it's like simple of like, oh, the main character attracts girls left, right, and center. All right, well, Mickey is
mm.
like that, but like worse, like the
He's
worst
like
kind of girls.
he's like a crime magnet in a way.
Yeah, he only ends up attracting the
Mm.
cute girls that are like, oh, I was like, I think I'm gonna commit
The
murder today. I don't
the
know.
tr- the troubled girls who are into like some messed up stuff.
Well, see, that's the thing is like I wouldn't say necessarily like the girls in Garden of Sinners have
Mm.
like messed up like fetishes,
No,
like
not necessarily like that. They just kind of like they're kind of like in situations where they where messed up stuff happens. Not necessarily if that they enjoy it, even though some might, but like not like that way. You know what I mean?
right. Mm.
Mickey is just like at the wrong place at the wrong time kind of guy.
Yeah, and then he like has like, with the exception of the first girl in chapter
Mm-hmm.
one, Mickey is like
Mm-hmm.
so far knows every girl or every main character, whether it be like he
Mm-hmm.
encounters them by chance or he like some kind of event causes him to meet another character. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for example, the blind girl in the first chapter
Mm-hmm.
was met off screen, or they met each other off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Then Fujino and Mikia meet each other like during their
Mm-hmm.
like high school days at like a track and field
Mm-hmm.
event. Then Shiki and him were high school lovebirds, basically.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how they met the person in the hospital in the first episode. Were they also like in the same high school? It seems like
Mm,
everyone went to the same high school. It seems like.
from what I remember of Toka
Mm-hmm.
questioning her, she asked him, "Hey, what's your connection to Mikia? Why did you like paralyze him or like put him into a sleep coma, wanting to make him your next victim and shit like that?" And she says like, "Oh yeah, he was a really nice guy that I met a couple weeks back. That's it.
Okay.
That's it." Or yeah, so apparently
Mm-hmm.
must have been. I'm going to assume that Mikia
Mm-hmm.
was at that hospital visiting Shiki when she was in a coma. That's the only thing.
That would make sense.
Yeah, that's the only plausible explanation I have for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, with how the show is like told out of order, I would not be surprised if it's leading up to basically the origin of how he met the girl in the hospital, and like the show will be go all full circle.
it's funny you mention that
Mm-hmm.
because the day after we watched part three
Mm-hmm.
together, I kind of skipped ahead to watch part
Mm-hmm.
four. I
Mm-hmm.
will let you know right now. It's not really much of a spoiler. Part four goes
Mm-hmm.
like back in time, like where they left off in
Mm-hmm.
like chapter two with Shiki in a coma.
Yeah.
Basically,
Mm-hmm.
part four is gonna pick up from there.
So basically, back when they're in high school, I assume we were gonna go back to that period. Like, we're gonna be. I assume we were like skip around different time periods. So like, because like the high school their story kind of didn't feel like fully resolved, and like they're gonna go back to that time period probably.
More or less, yes.
Hmm.
Um, Um, and the rubric I'm looking over right now is like discuss the acting, direction, soundtrack, etc.
Hmm.
I think the acting was fine. The acting was very good.
Hmm.
That's the thing. So I have like an unconscious bias towards
Hmm.
Japanese voice actors,
Hmm.
where it's just like it's really hard for me to get into dub voice acting
Hmm.
because like you get like there's so much you can tell a difference between like dub and
Hmm.
sub acting that is like you can hear every ounce of effort put into
Hmm.
the Japanese voice actors, where like you can
Mm-hmm.
even though they're in like a very impossibly unrealistic situation, like they make it like it is realistic to me. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
with dub actors have actually a hard time to like follow, like they have
Mm-hmm.
shoes to fill more or less, and there's
Mm-hmm.
actually and they're handicapped in a way that is um
They gotta like dub over the animation
that
rather than like animating to the voices.
yes, that's exactly
Mm-hmm.
it, because that's one of the biggest, because like
Yeah.
the voice actor for Ash
Mm-hmm.
in Pokemon had
Mm-hmm.
an interview and did a demonstration of doing some
Mm-hmm.
voice lines, and where
Mm-hmm.
she gets the line down perfectly. However, there are
Mm-hmm.
like instances where like she was a little bit short, and so
Mm-hmm.
they have to elongate her voice electronically in order to fill in
Interesting.
that time lapse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm gonna take
Mm-hmm.
Pikachu to the Pokemon Center, and then
Mm-hmm.
like she would go get that line out perfectly, but like the enter part
Mm-hmm.
of the sentence didn't match up to the
Mm-hmm.
lip flapping of the animation, so they had to elongate that or shorten it,
Mm-hmm.
electronically speaking.
Mm-hmm. There's also like the language barrier where some words in one language might be longer than like the English counterpart. So like
Right.
so they it makes sense that they probably have to like stretch or talk fast depending on the sentence.
There's that, and then there's the
Mm,
unnecessary censorship that's been happening lately within manga and
mm,
animation in general,
mm,
where they will take like certain phrases or lines
mm,
from the exact scene that you're reading or watching from, and then they'll
mm,
just completely just override it, if that makes
mm.
sense.
Kind of Americanize it.
I wouldn't say Americanize it. So like we
Mm.
watched Don Da Don together, right?
Yes, we watched a couple episodes. We still need to finish it.
We still need to finish it. We still need to finish a
Mm,
lot of anime. We really need to find
mm,
time to do that. Anyways, uh in an episode of Don, I think it was actually the episode after where we left off too.
mm.
Did we get to the part where we got to the giant fucking crab and everything?
I think I still remember the crab. I think so. Did they like kill it with a train or something?
They basically killed it on the
Okay.
train. Okay, so it's actually in that episode. In that episode, fuck, I can't remember her name. Damn it. Names. Fuck. Um, the main girl
Mm,
is explaining to Okorun. I can't believe I can
mm,
remember his fucking name, but not hers. But mostly because it's a fucking nickname she gave him.
mm,
Um, Okaroon was questioning why the fuck is there a giant fucking crab with Turbo Granny, and she's trying to explain that because of this being a area
mm,
where a lot of schoolgirls were killed at, it attracts a lot
mm,
of other spirits as well. So like
mm,
kind of like lure bait for fish,
mm,
basically, when you're using like the dead souls of the innocent.
mm. I
Um,
Google it. Her name's Momo.
Thank you. And so Momo is explaining this to Okarun, and
Mm,
and she is referring to that sort of flow of spiritual
mm,
nature as the river Styx
mm,
in Greek mythology.
mm,
However, the actual translation is talking about a different, more or less the Japanese equivalent to the river Styx in Greek mythology.
okay.
So, but the thing is that that's a whole Japanese cultural thing that you kind of just like wiped away and
So they
prevented.
took so they took something like a myth from Japan, but like it's close enough to like Greek myth. So they just said it's like, oh, it's the Greek thing, not the Japanese thing.
Yeah, and actually,
Turn.
when I watched the sub for that, I was confused. Like, why would Moma know what the river Styx is?
Mm,
Is she being taught that in high school?
mm,
Which it threw me off for a bit until I actually
mm,
looked up the reasoning for that, and it's exactly as that.
mm.
They just ah.
Like, oh, like people in America aren't gonna understand this like myth or like reference, so we're gonna change it to something people might know more.
Basically, yeah, that was basically their reasoning for it, and
Jelly donuts are my favorite.
oh, yep, and that's also like another bad. Well, that so like, I guess in Momo's case, it makes sense because not everyone's gonna know what. Even I still don't know what this exact Japanese spiritual river is, but like at the same time, you're going to like prevent people from
learning.
From learning. Like if
Yeah.
if the original translation was in that sub, I would have actually gotten curious enough to go look that up on Google. Not gonna lie, I would have. But then I was like,
I feel like having like historical stuff in like, you know, genre animation or films really opens the door to like people who don't normally watch period pieces or like foreign films. It makes people curious, like, oh, now I want to Google the lore or history about this.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just kind of like getting rid of it, just kind of like, oh, you got rid of that kind of like experience for someone.
And that's ironically kind of like the best thing about Dandadan is that Dandadan is like multicultural in a way because it's dealing with aliens and cryptids and other like folklore from like all across the world and not just like in Japan. And that's the cool part about Dandadan. But then it's like you're just like, yeah, you're culturally appropriating somebody's like other literal culture. Like
it's not even like changing it to an American thing, it's changing it to a Greek thing. So it's like at that point it's like,
what was the point?
but yeah, even then is like, I don't know if people know that much about like Greek. Not everyone probably knows about Greek mythology either.
Yeah,
Like if they're watching an anime, you kind of have to assume they probably, you know, watch a lot of anime and know a little bit about Japanese culture.
yeah,
You know, maybe not know everything, but like I think they can like take like, you know, talking about Japanese myth and lore.
yeah. Anyways, that's all like the whole translation issue that's been happening a lot lately. And so because of that, you're going to get a lot of like certain video game dialogue options that don't necessarily make sense for a specific reason. And you'll later find out it was because it was purposely changed because of the English translators. And I don't really care for that personally, and so, but because of that, stuff like that, you don't really get the whole, like, subtext of, like, certain animated scenes that are dubbed. That's why in terms of, like, more recent anime, I just don't watch dub, because it's just, I know somebody's
changed too much.
They're gonna change something in there that's not gonna make a lick of sense, or if it does, it's going to make only lick of sense for a specific audience that they're I don't want to say this, but they're pandering towards. And that's one of the that's basically the reasons why I prefer sub over dub, is that like for the sub original voice, it's the original voice actors, the animation lines up better, and it's just I like, you remember how we were I was arguing with the professor with like what was better in between like performance of like dub and sub, and then I had like a perfect fucking receipt for that. And it's just, I can understand wanting to listen to a dub for the sake of supporting an actor, or
like the convenience for people who don't feel like reading.
Exactly, that too. I can understand that. But like when you're offered either a Reuben made from scratch sandwich or just a ham and cheese sandwich that you have to make and eat on the run, like which are you gonna go for?
Probably the better one.
The Reuben, yes. But aside from my personal gripes on that matter of fact, so most of the time, like, I could probably think of like other situations where like, honestly, no, actually I can't. Like, I cannot think of like a bad Japanese performance that was not intentional. That's the thing. That's the key word, intentional. Like,
Hmm.
because like there's a bunch of characters that play like goofy ass characters, like
Hmm.
you know, you're probably not gonna know this name, but do you know Bobobo?
I have heard of that, but it's the one that's kind of just like it
The
very cartoony, insane. That's all I
very
kind of know.
cartoony, insane anime that's like borderline
Hmm.
the Japanese equivalent to Looney Tunes,
Hmm.
and the main character who's named Bobo,
Hmm.
uh, his voice actor is the same. His original voice actor, I should say. I had to specify that.
Hmm.
His original voice actor is Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And if you take a clip of Bobo's voice and his voice in that, and his
Hmm.
voice in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you would think like
Hmm.
it's two separate people because of how uncanny goofy one voice
Hmm.
is to the other.
Hmm.
Because like
Like he has good
he
range.
has great range. Like he's a
Hmm.
goofball in Bobo, but in JoJo's
Funny
Bizarre
name.
Adventure, Dio Brando is like so sophisticated, so
Wait, the
manipulative.
Dio character?
Yes.
Oh, that's really insane. Like I don't know anything about JoJo, but I know like Dio's like the big evil vampire guy. So it's like,
Yep.
wait, the cartoony Looney Tune guy voices.
Yes, that's the
That's
exact
funny.
same guy. The exact same guy. That's the hilarious part.
That reminds me of like the voice acting thing where people are like, did you know the voice for Blue and Foster's Home also voices like the one like edgy guy in Overwatch, like Raven or whatever? I don't know. Reaper, I think.
Reaper. Wow,
It's just
really?
yeah.
I did not
It just
know
kind of
that.
makes me think of that. Like, Blue Foster's Home. It's kind of funny.
I don't know where to pull all my shotguns when I'm done using them. That's actually interesting. That's actually quite
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm. Also, another side tangent. I just read of thought like, what if Yogi Bear was talking to Bobo, like, hey, Bobo, gotta get them picnic baskets.
That is
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, that's an
Yeah.
example of like um I don't I we went from like talking about Garden Centers to like me ranting about like voice acting. But yeah,
Hmm.
so basically that's when it comes to like most forms of Japanese animation media, it's really hard
Hmm.
for me to not dislike the performance of actors because that's the
Hmm.
ironic part about because like the story and writing can be complete ass,
Hmm.
but the performance is like, oh, wait, you really want me to say this? I mean, all right.
Hmm.
And then they just give like their best, like close to like Hamilton levels performance on top of
Hmm.
that. It's quite interesting.
Hmm.
Direction. So it's like discuss the acting, direction, soundtrack. The soundtrack for one thing is like for
Hmm.
me is quite interesting
Hmm.
because a lot of the times in these chapters, at least
Hmm.
in the first three, is
Hmm.
very quiet.
Hmm.
Like it allows you to seep with your surroundings and
Hmm.
kind of puts you in the presence of whatever is happening at the time, which
Hmm.
is a very uncomfortable for quite a few people who don't
Hmm.
have a, how do I say this, strong stomach, I guess, when
Hmm.
being presented with these kind of
Themes.
themes and conflicts
Hmm.
because of how we get introduced to the new character.
Hmm.
And for those who are not let's see, not is this it's not for the faint of heart, I can say
Hmm.
that. But so I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off.
Yeah.
So this literally the starting scene starts off with the new character getting essayed,
Yeah.
and and she's about to get stabbed,
Hmm.
but she basically awakens her eye ability and basically kills off 90% of all the guys in the room, basically.
Rightfully so.
Understandably so. And that's basically how the chapter 3 starts off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we're greeted with a fairly damaged character. And later on, she goes, when she's in a more better location, she meets Mikia. At least if we assume so, this is like after that happens, because like Dakota mentioned, it flashes back and forth a lot, so sometimes it's kind of hard to follow, sometimes not. I'm fairly certain it's more straightforward with this, but yeah, that's basically how it starts off, and more or less the rest of the series is about, or not the rest of the series, the rest of the episode is about her wanting to
track down everyone who was involved and like kill them.
Basically, yeah, and she's basically literally has that one guy left, and now she's just killing anyone or everyone that could possibly know where he is. Or I won't say killing them initially, more like torturing the information out of them. And when she doesn't get a direct answer, get out of it.
It's kind of like, oops, you died, you didn't answer in time.
Basically, yes. And because of this, Mikia is wanting to do research on her. You know, why is she like this? Why does she have, or how does she have an eye ability? And why does she have what could possibly be considered a SEPA, which is like the fact that like within the last week there's like we watched this and then I went to see Novocaine, and it's like basically,
oh yeah, I was thinking that too,
and it's just two characters that like have no sense of pain at all. It's like interesting coincidence. But for those who don't know, SEPA is a medical condition where people who cannot feel the sensation of pain. So, for example, if you were to, I don't recommend this, but like, for example, if you were to accidentally stab somebody with SEPA in Minecraft, they wouldn't feel a thing. If anything, they probably just feel a brush of air against their skin from the stabbing, if even that, actually, because they also don't have a sense of hot or cold either, so they probably wouldn't even feel the brush of air. And oftentimes people with SEPA end up having mental breakdowns in life because of not feeling the necessary sensation that, you know, would have humans learn from their mistakes. You know, oh, I accidentally stubbed my thumb trying to hammer this nail in. Ooh, better not do that again. And you know, stuff like that, where like you just don't know what you're missing out on, whether it be good or bad, basically. There's actually a character in the God of War remake. It's not a remake, it's still a continuation, but like it's like the 28
reboot.
I don't even want to call it that, because every time we mention reboots in like comics and everything, it's literally starting from square one. Because it's
like reboot in the sense where it's a continuation, but like it's not going to acknowledge previous events and might even like retcon some stuff. But it's still set in the same timeline technically.
See, it still acknowledges. So that's the whole point of the 2018 God of War game, is that it is forcing Kratos to acknowledge his past, accept all the shit that he's done that wronged pretty much everyone of Greece, by the way. But yeah, anyways, in the 2018 God of War game, you're introduced to the main bad guy of the game, you know, final boss and everything, of that game at least, named Boulder.
Mhm.
Boulder was gifted with a protection spell by his mother because she was very overprotective of him to no longer feel the sensation of pain from how
Mhm.
he describes it. Actually, I actually had the data book for that game somewhere in the living room. If I could probably look that up real quick.
Mhm.
The crew, Teddy. Hello,
Hello, Teddy.
we're talking about Guardian Sinners Chapter 3 right now, and we're talking about the
Mhm.
new character that got introduced. And spoiler warning, sorry for the shock factor, but it literally starts off with this of the new character getting introduced to us through SA, and it's very tragic. But she
Yeah.
does kill.
So,
Oh,
trigger warning.
yeah, very trigger warning. Uh, and it's revealed that she has what conditions for what could be considered SEPA, which is a genetic medical condition where you cannot feel any sensation of pain. Basically, hi. And I was actually just going into like examples of characters like this where um people who do have SEPA often end up experiencing mental breakdowns of some sort. So for
Mhm.
example, I was just talking about Boulder from the 2018 God of War game, where he was
Mhm.
giving a spell or a curse, depending on how you look at it, where he cannot feel the sensation of pain, and it was more or less supposed to be like a protection spell from his mother because she was overprotective of him. But the spell relieved him of any sensation of both pain and pleasure. So
Mhm.
he couldn't enjoy anything whatsoever. Oh, I just
Mhm.
drank this soda. I can't taste shit.
Mhm.
Like, imagine that.
Everything tastes like water.
Basically. But it left him basically virtually invulnerable. Like, not even Thor could beat his ass. It was that a powerful of a spell.
Mhm.
And it was actually kind of ironic too, because I think this in Norse mythology, this same spell I think was also possibly an influence for Superman's
Mhm.
invulnerability, because the
Mhm.
only thing that could break this spell on Boulder was take a guess. Take a
Mhm.
guess what it is.
Kryptonite. Or
Cl-
magic rock.
Close. Mistletoe.
Why specifically mistletoe?
Because his mother Freya, I think it was,
Mhm.
want out of all the things that in Scandinavia at least, because this is Norse mythology, the only thing
Mhm.
that didn't seem like it would be a threat to him at all would be mistletoe.
Mhm. So is there kind of like a not necessarily magic as a price, but like okay, I'm gonna make a spell to make you not feel pain, but there has to be kind of like one thing that can just hurt you, and they just picked something random that no one would think of.
I don't think it was that, but it could possibly be. From my understanding, from when I looked it up, uh, Loki
Mm,
basically tricks her into confessing what the only thing that could hurt him would be. And she says
mm,
mistletoe because it's like the most insignificant plant
mm,
ever.
mm.
So what what Loki
That,
did.
that 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 really reminds me of like a Green Lantern who was like originally watching over Earth, but like he ended up being evil. So they're like, how do we stop this Green Lantern from terrorizing humans? So what they did was they just wrote a rule in the rule book. We can be defeated by wood. So like the humans can just beat him with a stick.
It's kind of similar to that. So,
Mhm,
but what Loki did after that was that he quite literally tricked one of his other
mhm,
god cousins to like, hey, I bet you can't throw your throw a stick this far that direction like a spear,
mhm,
and like, yeah, I bet yeah, fuck it, I can. And we're like, okay, here's this spear made out of mistletoe. Throw it in that direction,
mhm.
and he accidentally kills Balder.
Oh my god!
Well, like, he
It's like
did, but like Loki did it on purpose because he's an asshole.
it's like the Puss in Boots story. He tricks the giant shapeshift into a mouse because like I bet you couldn't change into a mouse. I could, but that's like a lame animal. Why you want me to turn into a mouse? It seems like you can't do it. Or I'll turn to a mouse, and then puts the boots, eats the giant.
That's basically how it went, and
Hmm.
then that kind of started Ragnarok. But like,
Hmm.
it's just the end of the world. Nothing too significant.
It's just a stupid boulder.
And
It's not just a boulder. It's Ragnarok.
okay, that was actually pretty good. So okay. But yeah, and then there's actually an episode in House MD where there's a patient who has SEPA got
Hmm.
into a car accident, but because she has SEPA, she
Hmm.
mm, doesn't realize how possibly damaged she is or how injured she could be. And
Hmm.
so House calls her out on it. She knows what she's talking about. She knows she has SEPA, but she wants to pretend to be a quote unquote normal girl so
Hmm.
hard that she tries faking being in pain when
Hmm.
going through his experiments to, prove she has SEPA.
Hmm.
Um and so it turns out that she had a lot of medical issues like malnourishment and all that,
Hmm.
but it was because of a giant tapeworm that was in her intestines that was
Oh no.
that was basically eating everything that she ate before her digestive tract could absorb anything. So basically she was more or less starving herself in a way. But
You got
like,
Mr. Meated.
yes, and House caught it, removed it, and whoop, voila, she is mostly normal now. And she still can't feel pain, but yeah. But during one of the procedures to prove that she has SEPA, which
Hmm.
for some fucking reason involved drilling into her brain, um, she laughs maniacally about it for some reason, and they never really specify that. And so I'm going to go into the assumption is because it is the mental breakdown of being uh Megley
Hmm.
born with this genetic inhibitor to your
Hmm.
pain sensors.
Senses.
Yes. Then what else? And so you kind of see that in Garden Centers Chapter 3 with Fujino, who is the thing about Fujino though is like when later on Mikia finds out that she was originally born with both a normal sense of pain and her abilities, her eye
Hmm.
abilities. But her father wanted to restrict her eye abilities because it's a very dangerous ability, by the way. Like she literally destroys a whole fucking bridge with it. Um by basically inorganically forcing her to have SEPA. They don't outright state it in that how I did. That's like how I can like make it make sense. The father basically treated his little girl to basically Rambo this shit. And like,
Oh,
and for those who don't understand that reference, Rambo was a special forces soldier that was specifically taught to ignore pain.
thing. The way I interpreted it was that I didn't. Does her father know that she had the potential to have powers? Because like
Yes, he
I
actually said
interpreted
that.
it as him just being an abusive asshole who
It's
was just
well,
annoyed at baby. He's just annoyed at baby crying or getting crying after falling
it's
over a bunch, so he just medically induced
you know
this. Now you can't feel pain. Shut the fuck up.
honestly, it could be considered both because
Hmm.
literally when he realized on the news that these people who were SAing his daughter get killed in a specific way, he was like, oh shit, she unlocked her powers again. and so hired Toka, and this is where our main characters come in. Hired Toka, Mikia, and Shiki to basically apprehend more or less his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't do that, they have his full permission to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Which, fuck this guy.
Yeah, what they revealed that like he like had her medically induced to like not be insensitive to pain. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he purposely
Piece of
hid that.
shit.
He purposely hid that information. But
They do that to like I'm assuming they did it when she was like a baby because like the flashback showed her as a toddler and it's like the fuck?
yeah.
You piece of shit.
Yeah.
Let the baby cry, asshole.
Let the baby cry. But because of that, she is more or less mentally unstable because during the times of her abusers, they more or less unlocked her sense of pain again. But in all the wrong ways. And I believe, if I remember correctly, no, the time that she got hit in the back was like within 6 months prior to when she finally snapped and killed everyone. So, she's more or less, and like you can even hear it in the phone call to the last guy she's trying to kill. It was like, "Hey, thank you for making me feel pain again, but I don't want people knowing I'm a murderer. So like, no witnesses." And and like you in her expression when she's making that phone call too, she's like unhinged to the point that when Shiki confronts her for that final fight on the bridge, like she even like calls her out on that, like, "Oh, you don't like murder? Why the fuck you smiling then?" And
the morbid curiosity of like not knowing how it feels to feel pain, but seeing other people see pain.
Yes. So, and it's actually, Toka points it out that Fujino is the reverse of Shiki, where she has like a split personality, more or less, where the side of her that feels pain is the crazy murder happy side, and the one that doesn't is not the murderer, more or less. Whereas with Shiki, she has one half that's like the tomboyish, outgoing extrovert who loves killing. And then you have the introverted, quiet side that's like, meh. That's basically how that's explained, and that's actually, thank fucking God. So it turns out that Fujino, that stab in the stomach that she thought her abusers gave her, it was actually appendicitis that ruptured. Yeah, so her appendix ruptured. And
she wasn't stabbed. It was just kind of like she assumed because it hurt.
And her appendix ruptured, and she was basically on death's door. But Shiki was like, well, you're not a murderer anymore. Or at least you're not in your murder state, but there's still that problem in your belly, so I'm gonna cut that for you. And she basically cures Fujino's disease free of charge, while at the same time more or less giving her a second chance at life and redemption, which, holy fuck, that's actually kind of interesting, because I would not have thought Shiki of doing something like that, honestly, especially how we got introduced to her more in chapter 2 with how kill happy she is. Any thoughts on your end for the acting, direction, soundtrack, whatnot? Dakota?
Not that I could think of.
Yeah, we fried Dakota's brain, chat.
Oh no, fried deer.
Well, how'd you like the acting?
I thought it was all right.
like 1 to 5, how was it in your perception?
Well, like Invader Zim once said, well, it doesn't appear to be making me sick. But yeah, I didn't notice anything necessarily bad with the acting.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like when things are like when you don't notice things, I feel like that's usually when it's at its best. Like if you notice something that's kind of like grabs your attention, that's kind of weird, you just kind of like, hmm. But if you don't notice, like, oh, that was probably just good because I have no complaints.
Right.
Hmm.
How about the direction of this chapter? Because this is a little bit different because this is still basically murder hobos gone wild. But how it introduces like a new character, new eye abilities, and explores a little bit more with Shiki and Mikia's relationship and personality as a whole.
I will say it's like it's very similar formula to like the first episode, but basically everything I had complaints of the first episode was kind of fixed in this, where like all the players in the story were like introduced. Like we have like I Fuji, I wouldn't say she's necessarily the villain, but she's kind of like the antagonist of the story in a way. Like they're trying to find her,
Yeah.
but she's not the villain. But like we're introduced to like the antagonists, and then we have like the pieces to the mystery. So like everything's just kind of like, okay, there's more of a full story compared to the first episode where we're not really introduced to anyone. There's not really that much talking, and things just kind of happen.
Right.
Well, this was like, it felt more like a cohesive story, while the other one kind of felt like I lacked context. So I do think it was like a improvement, and I do think the show is getting better each episode.
Right. Especially with like all the pieces like slowly coming together because of their back and forth between the past and present.
I do think it was a really weird, interesting choice to have Mikio, one of the main characters, just not in the first episode. So I'm just kind of like, who the fuck is he?
Well, he was like in it for like a good, like it's like
he gave her ice cream and that's it, and then he's like in a coma. It's like, who is she? Is he her boyfriend, coworker?
A little both, I think, at this point.
Are they actually in a relationship, or is it just like really close friends?
Personally, I kind of hope they are in a relationship because it would make sense. Because he literally outright admitted his feelings for her in like episode or chapter 2. But I don't know. Like and I kind of like talked about this before with how characters, or not characters, but like how Japan as a culture is very reclusive with their personal feelings and being outward about them. So it's like, yes. At the same time, I don't know. It's like, so we might find out the more we watch, but who knows? Okay. Next. What'd you think about the sound design and the soundtrack in general?
Well, I don't really like you mentioned. It's like there's not really that much music in it, but like the main theme's really nice. I can't really remember at the top of my mind, but I remember like the main like theme in the series is really nice.
Yeah, that is true. The theme song from like the first chapter going to the second chapter, and I think it's fairly certain it comes again at the end of this chapter. But I think chapters 1 and 3, when Shiki gets into battle, basically, is very good like fight music, I think. It's like airy and gospel-y at the same time, but like in a good way, if that makes sense. And it's actually a very like trademark battle theme for Garden of Sinners, because that same theme that was playing when she was fighting Fujino is actually used in the Fate Grand Order collaboration trailer that came out years and years ago. All right, and next thing on our checklist is share your perspective. So there's a lot of things that happen in this episode where
Mm,
I like this episode a lot,
mm,
mostly because it, like you said, it did what
mm,
chapter 1 did, but like much more improved and
mm,
better.
mm,
And it and one of the things I like about this episode is like I didn't realize it until like the end of the and I had to watch this
mm,
twice now. It's like the
mm,
first time so I can get like, you know, a gander of what it's like to watching it again with you, so to get your
mm,
first person perspective of it, like what you like as a like a
mm,
non-anime
mm.
fan would take it.
Someone going into it blind.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yes.
Mm,
And um and like in like how you already mentioned that the chapters basically are like back and
mm,
forth between past, present, and future kind of
mm.
spiel.
It's a very non-literal,
Very
literal,
non-linear,
yeah, non-linear story.
non-linear storytelling, and it
Mm,
shows very much. And I did, like I said, I didn't realize it until like you pointed it out, and I watched it
mm,
more times than you. I did not
mm,
realize that until you pointed it out. Where
mm,
this episode reveals that this is the episode where Shiki loses her arm,
mm,
and in the first episode, first episode, it it's revealed that her left arm is a prosthetic, and I remember you asking like, why does she have a prosthetic?
mm.
Is it like just like a regular robo arm? Like, how did she lose her arm? And I'm like,
Mm.
well, we're probably gonna figure that out later, probably.
Yeah, I was kind of like, is it just like a robot arm, or is she like all robot? Because they had like a bunch of like full mannequins of people. I'm like, is there some magic man making like artificial people?
Oh yeah, those are all Toka's dolls, by the way. Those are all hers.
Hmm.
And you said it's like, oh, is Shiki a robot or like a
Hmm.
doll like them? And it's like, hey, you know what? That's actually a fair question. I don't know how to answer
Hmm.
that. And
Yeah, with all the ghosts, I was like, is she like some sort of advanced like possessed doll? But like, no, it's just her arm.
you know, it's actually funny you mentioned that, and that's kind of something you're gonna be asking again when we get to chapter 4.
Oh my god, is it gonna be the? No, it couldn't be the like you mentioned the next episodes with her amnesia, right? But that takes place in high school, so she probably has like a human arm.
uh, so this is before the events of Fujino, so she still has her
Hmm.
human arm.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought because like originally when I was doing research for Shiki as like a debate character like years and years ago, I thought
Hmm.
that that particular scene was just her like losing another prosthetic arm.
Hmm.
And then you like you pointed out like is this where she loses her arm to get a prosthetic arm? Like no fucking way.
Hmm.
And then like later on I somehow didn't catch it the first time, but like she meant to like, oh yeah, my arm got broken. It's useless to me. I used my
Hmm.
mystic eyes to kill my arm. I'm
Hmm.
gonna need a new one.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, that makes sense now.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Um.
She had to earn her prosthetic arm.
It's actually crazy. Like, so so going to more about the mystic eyes of death perception, and next chapter goes into it a lot more. So that way,
Hmm.
and you're actually going to see what she sees,
Hmm.
like 24/7. By the way,
Hmm.
where and I told you about it before, where it's like I caught it in chapter 1 because it's like that's the kind of stuff I look out for.
Hmm.
But it's like such a flick, like a
Hmm.
flick to the eyes. Like you won't notice that unless you're actually looking for it.
Hmm.
But you're going to get in chapter 4 is gonna go into a lot more of the mystic eyes of death perception Shiki uses, and I can't remember what Fujino's eyes are. I think that hers are the eyes of clairvoyance. I could be
Hmm.
wrong on that because
I think they did mention clairvoyant. in the episodes. It's probably that.
Yeah, because like there's like in the Type Moon Nasuverse,
Mm.
uh, everything with it made by Kinoko Nasu ends up having like special eye abilities of some sort here and there. Like for example, here in Guardian of Sinners, Shiki has Mystic Eyes and Depth Perception.
Mm-hmm.
And in his other work called Tsukihime and Melty Blood, he has another character named Shiki with Mystic Eyes and Depth Perception.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into Fate Stay Night, where he has Medusa, like
Mm-hmm.
literal Medusa, like the Gorgon snake hair and everything. Well, she doesn't have snake hair, but she's actually a hottie now. But her eyes are the mystic eyes of petrification,
Mm-hmm.
and there are many eyes similar to
Mm-hmm.
that with different attributes, if that makes sense. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make this comparison, but think of it as the as like the different rings from Captain
Mm-hmm.
Planet.
Oh God.
Water, fire, earth, heart,
I
air.
am Captain Planet.
Uh, but that's basically how that is with Kinoku Naso. That's like one of the like
Mm-hmm.
major things he's always consistent on when he's writing different series. Is like he always wants to have like some kind of eye power in it, even when it's not like not related to like his technically okay. So technically it's not related, but he has another series called Kanan that's
Mm-hmm.
technically not related to the his universe of other works,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like really hard not to say it isn't because of how significant this one character's eye ability is and how frequent they use it and shit. It's a really
Mm-hmm.
cool eye ability. I forgot what it's called or if it even has a name. But like the main character who's named Kanan, shocker,
Mm-hmm.
uh has a special eye ability that is like it's really hard to. It's like she can read the intentions and emotions of others,
Mm-hmm.
and they are like an aura of like certain color patterns. And so, like for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you're angry, you're going to be like red to her, and if you're looking to
Mm-hmm.
like kill somebody, you're gonna be like a black aura to her.
So she's like an empath.
Basically in some regards,
Mm-hmm.
but like it expands even further than that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous what the applications she can make with those eyes of hers. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, so she long story short, and I'm trying to summarize this because make a point.
Mm-hmm.
She's hunting down a bunch of terrorists, and they're in a underground sewer, and there's a dark tunnel with like little to no light. There are people in that tunnel waiting for her to walk right in, so they can just gang up on her. She
Mm-hmm.
can use her eyes as like a form of like echolocation that
Mm-hmm.
not really illuminates, but basically sees the structure, integral structure of the surrounding area
Mm-hmm.
around her, the way that um archaeologists make for schematics.
Mm-hmm.
So she can literally look at everything on like base level material,
Mm-hmm.
and like and so because of that you can't jump her. Because you can't
Mm-hmm.
bypass her. She more or less has like the X-ray vision, but like it's not X-ray vision, if that makes sense.
It's like in motion vision.
Yeah, that's an application of it.
Mm-hmm. She has the power to feel like someone is trying to sell her something.
Yes, that's more or less like you cannot get a jump on her
Mm-hmm.
unless you are this character named Alphard, who is for some reason the antithesis to her eye ability for some reason, but
Mm-hmm.
that's neither here nor there. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Kinoko Natsu loves eye abilities one way or another, and he always finds a way to like slip them in,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's like unrelated to like the topic at hand, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like the chapter 3 for like introducing more eye abilities, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's a good comparison to it? It's like not like a battle royale, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like shit. What's a good comparison?
In Olympics.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Where it's like an
Mm-hmm.
Olympic of eye user abilities,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sadly none of them can compete with fucking Shiki. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's like when we get into like more chapters, you're gonna realize how fucking stupid broken Shiki is with these. Like it's like you think, oh, she can just cut lines on something and kill it. No, and she kind of slightly demonstrates it with her fight with Fujino, whose eye abilities are like kind of like telekinesis
Mm-hmm.
and are invisible to the naked eye. She
Mm-hmm.
can see that and cut those lines and like
Mm-hmm.
negate the power.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking like poor Mika in the next episode because he's like, my friend is like a serial killer and tried to kill me and has multiple personalities. That's a lot to take in. And like, oh wait, there's more. I have magic.
Man,
I have
so
magic eye abilities. And like, what does that even mean, Shiki? What are you talking about?
so I don't
Or
want I don't want to spoil
is it like
anything.
is it like a time skip where he already learned that?
I don't know how to explain this,
Like,
but
because I
base
feel like I feel like if they're gonna do the amnesia story, Mikia has to kind of know she has powers. So maybe this could be another flashback to this flashback where he learns. I guess. No.
Mm,
Okay.
from what I watched in chapter 4, that doesn't particularly happen. Um, I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything. I will say this is more or less also an episode introduction to Toka,
Hmm.
and
Oh, interesting.
chapter 4 is more or less an introduction episode of like how the gang got together, basically.
Okay, cool. Because I don't know who the fuck Toka is, and like is she her boss or something. So I'm glad we're gonna get an origin story of who the fuck she is.
She's the red-haired, big-titted
Like,
boss babe.
yeah. So are they like private investigators? Is that their job, or are they paranormal investigators?
I think they're like more or less paranormal investigators for hire, from my understanding.
Okay. But is like just being like normal detectives kind of like a cover or
Yeah,
no?
yes, actually, now that you say that, yes, because during the chapter 3, there was that
Mm,
one driver that almost ran over Fujino, but she saved herself
mm,
by unfortunately killing the guy first.
mm,
And Toka gets a phone call, and she's like, "Oh
mm,
wow, that guy's head twisted off. Wow, I wonder how that happened. Well, sorry, I can't help you there."
mm,
So
mm.
yeah, I think it is more or less a cover story.
Yeah, they're private investigators who are also paranormal investigators.
Yes.
Mm,
And the next episode is going to be a flashback episode. Then there's an end credit scene with
mm.
the next episode. I will let you know that.
Like it's a
And
good ending.
yeah, like a Marvel movie like end credit scene, whereas like we're possibly going to be introduced to the main bad guy of
There's a main bad guy.
um Yesn't. So you remember how the blind girl in chapter 1 mentioned,
Yeah, the guy who gave her powers that was just like mentioned.
yes, he is going to come back around,
Okay. Thanos will return.
basically. But the end credit scene for chapter 4 also shows that he quite literally, and I'm going to make a joke right now. You're not gonna get it now, but you're gonna get it like when we watch it. He quite literally has a
Mm.
hand in everything, if that makes sense. And I like pay attention to the hand joke because he's kind of handsy. Yeah,
Oh
but
no.
not well. Well, he's a priest, so
Mhm.
priest jokes.
Oh.
So yeah, but yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So we're possibly gonna get introduced to him by chapter 5 properly.
Mhm.
Um. You know how there's always those like previews for the next episode on certain shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because I thought there was gonna be like another end credit scene. There's not. There's that, and I kind of got possibly spoiled on what's gonna happen next episode, or in chapter 5. I mean. So.
Interesting. The ones we watched didn't have a neck on the next episode.
That's mostly because I kind of like stopped it right when the credits start
Oh,
scrolling, so there is a possibility that there might have also
we
been
skipped them.
end credit scenes I have inadvertently skipped as
Oh
well.
no.
I'm
Do we
go
need should we skim and like check?
I'm actually probably gonna do that after stream ends, just to
You
double check to make sure that
didn't miss it.
I didn't miss anything, and this was like chapter 4 was just a one-time occurrence, hopefully,
Oh my god.
because we might have missed some like specific like details in previous episodes and
I feel like
podcasts.
that's why I don't like secret endings are cool, but when you have secret endings in TV shows, that's like I don't understand it because people don't watch the credits for TV shows, and then it's like not every episode. So like, well, which one says in credit scenes? Like if you don't know, you're gonna be confused the next episode.
Yes, yes, this is true. This is
I
why
know
I'm.
like WandaVision did that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I had like someone I know, I had to like tell them like make sure you watch like the endings to like a couple episodes, but not all of them, just a couple of them. It's random. But like you'll be confused if you don't.
Yep.
It's like why would you do that?
Um. So with on a scale between 1 and 10, how would
Hmm.
you rate the first episode going forward?
Mm, I'm not sure. I think this show's like maybe a solid 8 so far.
Oh, let's do it episode by episode. Let's do that. So like episode 1 through 8.
Hmm. Like they're all good in their own way, but I guess like I had like the problems of not really knowing what was going on in the first episode, but that's kind of on my fault because like I didn't have any context for what the show is about. So like if I like read a synopsis or watched a trailer, I probably could have like know what I was getting into. So I guess we'll just give like the first episode a 7 and then the other two maybe like an 8.
Okay, that's very solid. Both episodes
Mhm.
are first to 7, the other 2 and 8. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Mhm.
Especially with like how good the animation is, the good sound design, the good soundtrack, the great
Mhm.
acting, the great action.
Mhm.
It's just, and that's kind of also well, I don't know how much Kinoku Nasu is known for world building,
Mhm.
but carrying out a cohesive story is like not really his strong suit. Ironically,
Mhm.
some of the best type moon related stories are stories that he has no doesn't
Mhm.
have much hand in. Like
Mhm.
the prequel to Fate Stay Night, like what you and I are also watching on the side.
Mhm.
Somebody else wrote the prequel series to that called Fate
Mhm.
Zero.
Mhm.
Personally, for me, I would probably give the first episode like if you're going into Garden of Sinners blind, which I kind of recommend you
Mhm.
do because like
Mhm.
it builds up from there, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It literally gives you like a solid foundation to give you have your interest peaked going forward,
Mhm.
and it helps keep you elevated throughout the other each chapter, each episode that you watch. So
Mhm.
like for the first episode, I would probably give it maybe a 6, because
Mhm.
or maybe 6.5 maybe, if you ask me, because the first episode I think did well with hooking your attention, and when we were doing the whole thriller concept first, and so I think it did well with that, especially with like all those quiet moments where it's like eerie or not suffocating, but draws you more into the scene because you're like that curious of like, why is it so quiet? Why is there only Haagen-Dazs in the freezer?
Dead water bottles and a Haagen-Dazs.
The Haagen-Dazs. Then episode 2, chapter 2, I think that does well with trying to establish the relationship and friendship, romantic, whatever relationship between Mikia and Shiki, and establishes them as characters more. And it was mentioned in, I think, the first episode about Shiki being in a car wreck where she loses her, or where she has amnesia and shit. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna get into that. Well, we didn't really get into that in the chapter 2, but it basically leaves off with that aforementioned coma and amnesia that she was in. That car wreck, more or less. Romantic, y'all kissing in the stream without me? Hell yeah, gooey. Get your own buck.
God.
And then, so I think I would give chapter 2 7. Definitely a solid 7 out of 10. Chapter 3, I think this is where they're starting to pick up more, because Kaneko Nasu is known for having dark, strong themes in his work. And this is where it starts to pick up, and I really need to check if there's any like end credit scene at the end of the episode, see if it ties in, and that way it will explore more or not. If not, I'm pretty sure chapter 4 is going to be like the only one. But what else? Well, I think chapter 3 is a good solid 8 out of 10 because it introduces more characters, introduces heavier tones, great action and animation as usual, great quote unquote character development because Shiki didn't kill anyone this episode at least. So, and she restrained herself enough to be able to, like, you know, actually help somebody and cure them of their disease, and like it is just more or less not a one-note character, basically. I gotta snooze. Bye-bye. Nighty-night, gooey. Yeah, and so I think chapter 3 is definitely an 8 out of 10 for me. I'm gonna have to watch chapter 4 again to actually give my personal opinion on that, and you haven't watched that yet, so that's gonna be like next week's stream. Any other things you want to talk about before we head out, Dakota?
Not that I could think of right now.
Oh, do you want to talk about the thing happening in Texas right now, or you want to do that like another stream?
Talk about we can.
Okay. We could also bring it up again on Tuesday when we do Ruby Tuesdays, because Rooster Teeth was founded in Texas, and Ruby is or at least the first 4 volumes slash seasons were all focused around teenage girls. So for those who don't know what I'm referring to, recently the state of Texas in the United States is trying to pass a law or bill to pretty much censor and ban content of anime and video games that have any depictions of of children slash minors, which is up to interpretation of how that should be in effect. Ow, Junie, stop scratching my back. So because like there's all these things like Lolitas and Shota people and right, even though there's like probably a lot more things, they could probably fixate putting these kind of resources in instead of like banning anime. You could probably should just go hunting people who are like doing this kind of shit to like real kids, genuine common sense. So here's the thing about this happening in Texas. This is actually quite significant to the anime and video game community as a whole, because California and Texas are the two biggest distributors and developers of voice acting and video game production. And so to have basically a ban on any form of creativity regarding a depiction of a child slash minor is going to be hindrance, more or less, because there's going to be a lot of storytelling implications that could require a performance of a child character. Fuck, a big example of this, even though this is a parody, is South Park. Now everyone in the state of Texas cannot watch South Park anymore because that entire show is about a bunch of fourth graders swearing, basically. And now you can't. And now that show is gone now in the state of Texas.
Dang, it doesn't even really count as an anime though.
But it depends on who you ask. I have one furry friend of who will
is the law just for anime or just animation in general?
From what the news post I sent to our group chat said, it was in reference to anime, Japanese anime, and video games. And the problem with that is that, again, a lot of voice actors for this kind of stuff all live in most of them, I should say, all live in Texas. And now they're basically out of a fucking job, more or less. Or, not out of a job, but, their income got slashed.
Was it Texas who's also banning furries, or is that a different state?
I shouldn't laugh at that, but I would not.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if they were.
I'm pretty sure it's Texas because it's like they're banning furries from schools or whatever, and kids are not allowed to make animal noises, dress up, crawl around, or use litter boxes in schools. And it's all those kids just play games. You can't make children's imaginations illegal. And two, no one's using litter boxes. You made that fucking up.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit that is being made up for that kind of shit. It's actually ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, I actually got the clip right here. I need to let me just
So anime fans are crashing out for one reason,
listen to it real quick.
What's the clip? Is it about furries or anime?
It's about is that clip I sent? That's in regards to Texas banning it. It's a censorship policy and law that Texas is trying to pass. Oh, hold on. That's Texas senators unanimously passed the bill. If signed into law, could make several games, anime, and manga series legal to own in the state. That's kind of fucked. So, depending on your interpretation to anime, it could, and your interpretation of, and here's the reason for why it's being banned. It's because of obscene depictions of a minor or someone who looks like one. Which, fuck you, because there are a lot of babyface adults in the world. So fuck you. And then, two, minors I could understand I'm not defending this, but like, you really can't like force them to not do that. Unfortunately, that's the thing. You could probably like, I could probably see like like blurs being put on like a kid wanting to go to the beach with their mom and dad, basically. That's actually quite hilarious. I probably would prefer that just for the laughs. Like, you imagine like a very wholesome scene of a family going to a beach, and then the daughter is just one big blur.
Not even a blur, just like a black censored bar.
I think that'd even be worse. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, and depending on your interpretation, this could hinder and pretty much blacklist so many series from the state of Texas. Like the Persona series. A lot of the Persona games, as beloved as they are, all have depictions of minors be in obscene situations. And also depends on what your interpretation of the word obscene is for it to be worth a damn. For it to...
Like, I feel like there's like three kind of things. There's like adult shows, like young adult shows, like teenagers, 20-year-olds, and then there's like children's shows. And usually, like, I feel like the ones they're talking about are probably like, you know, young adult shows where it's going to talk about like, you know, like high school teenagers in relationships and stuff, but they're usually all like the same age. So it's like, that's fine. If it was like, you know, an age difference between characters, that might be a little weird. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that's why the clip
like,
that
kids aren't.
Oh, go ahead.
But kids aren't watching this inappropriate stuff.
Yeah, and
it's like made for older people in mind.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it's like made for like younger adults, for example, and shit like that. So it's like, what the fuck?
So that does remind me about, like, there was like an interview of the people who made the Netflix show Big Mouth, and they're like, how did you get away with making like a show about like kids that's like so sexual? And they said like, the reason we're able to get away with it because we were told to make the characters look as inhuman as possible, so they don't look like children, which is kind of fucked up.
That is really fucked up.
Is interesting, I guess.
I mean, it's a workaround, sure, but like that says more about society as a whole, where like, yeah, these are strong adult topics about kids going through puberty, but like the only way you can get around it and for people like not to think twice about it,
look like homunculuses,
is to make them fuckly, and then that gets by, but that's still stupid. Still stupid.
Like, if you're told like, oh, if this is too weird, we have to make them not look human, it's like, then maybe you shouldn't have made the show. I don't know.
And see, it's so vague too, because like the word obscene could, and yeah, and this person in the list of examples of the clip I sent gives a fair amount of listings of examples that could be banned in the state of Texas. So like Jujutsu Kaisen could be banned. Naruto could be banned. Naruto would definitely probably get banned then because of all the quote unquote obscene situations that anime has.
Like a lot of beach episodes or something.
Not beach episodes, but it's like, let me look up the definition of obscene, and this is why. I think I remember
seeing like the preview trailer on Netflix of him turning into a bunch of naked ladies
to
like, beat an opponent.
Okay, in fairness,
yeah,
he only does like that for like 2 episodes. That's it.
Okay, and then, that's the reason.
And then like all 900 plus episodes later, he does not do that again. Oh, he does that one more time, but he does it for in a guy version. I will not explain the context. I will tell you, it works. I will probably tell you the context later, and you're probably gonna laugh at how it
Was
works.
it to a girl character or another guy character?
It was to a girl character.
Okay.
And I will say that the girl character was a final boss character. I will say that, and it fucking works. And it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have.
Yeah, there was that like recent Adult Swim show that was supposed to be a Cartoon Network show. I never finished it, but there's like an episode where the bad guy like makes a bunch of like statues in a museum come to life, but they're all naked, and the character's like, I can't fight them, they're naked, this is embarrassing. So like the guy character goes super fast and cuts off all their dicks, and then they just get super pissed off. Like,
I feel like I've
they
seen
just
that,
like,
that before.
that just made them more violent. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
I feel like I've seen that before, but that's funny. Alright, so the textbook definition of the word obscene. Of the portrayal or the descriptions of sexual matters, offensive or disgusting by accepted standards of morality and decency. Offensive to moral principles. Repugnant, for example. And so the Merriam-Webster dictionary, disgusting to the senses, repulsive, apparent or to morality or virtue, designed to incite to lust or deprave, contain or being language regarded as taboo in polite usage. So, a character saying a curse word could be considered obscene as well. And so that goes back to why I'm saying that there are instances, and like a lot of what was given off as examples, like Jujutsu Kaisen to Naruto, where curse words are used, and especially in video games too. Repulsive by reason of crass disregard of moral or ethical principles. That could be...
God forbid a child says fuck. Joking.
So that could be a whole other thing. That could be entire plot lines that are in regard to stuff like that. And now that's banned because you got a fucking child in the mix. Arr.
So is this law not just about like, you know, like sexual depictions? It's just like swearing, just like R-rated stuff in general?
Basically, so excessive as to be offensive. So obscene wealth, obscene waste is the example for that. The obscene misuse of power, obscene lyrics, obscene literature. Dance often goes to vulgarity, obscene, and definitely provocative. Margaret Mead, no idea who that is, but basically, that's basically how it is. If it's R-rated with a depiction of a childlike character in it, you're gonna that's gonna get banned in Texas.
But like, kids just exist. Even if their kid isn't a major part in like a show or movie, they're like in the backgrounds probably at one point. So like you just gotta like, is like every R-rated movie with like a kid in the background and like a city shot gonna get banned, or is it just like if the kid has a prominent role?
From what it looks like in the depiction of in regards to the clip, it is going to be bill signed make an anime bill bans any obscene depiction of a minor or someone who looks like a minor. So if you have a babyface character, they will get your shit banned. If you and this is where I'm going back to with South Park again. South Park has child depictions of kids. All like the entire. That's basically the entire fucking premise of South Park is basically kids saying curse words, and now South Park is going to be banned in Texas.
Like, are they gonna ban the Simpsons?
That's actually a fair fucking point. I really need to look more into this bill, probably for like next time, where I really want to see what's on this bill that could be, if it could be misconstrued to just anime as in Japanese animation or as an animation as a whole. If it's animation as a whole, where Texas is pretty fucked when it comes to creative liberties and creative freedom of speech.
like I like my like feeling for this whole situation is like I don't know how well they're going to be able to enforce this. So I feel like they probably won't, but they just want this law so that way if there's something they don't agree with, they can just ban it. Like I feel like this is going to be like heavily used against shows with like LGBT themes, like they're like Steven Universe or something, where it's like, oh, this kid is interacting with gay characters, that's inappropriate, ban it.
Or like Steven, this little boy, this little child is in dangerous situations. Oh, better ban it.
Or like the Owl House. Wait, the two characters are like, gay and in love with each other. Ban it. That's inappropriate.
Yeah.
They're just gonna like use it just to like, they always kind of like get like high like like scary word like like it's like where you're like I guess I can understand you banning stuff with sexual depictions of like minors. Obviously that's valid.
Yeah.
But like it's like it's vague enough where they could just like I politically don't agree with that band.
Yeah.
Because again, like I don't see how are you gonna enforce this law? Are you gonna have someone whose job is to watch anime? and we're talking about anime here. People pirate anime. You're not gonna stop anyone from watching it. Like, you just gonna take it off Netflix? They're not. No one's gonna care. They're gonna find other ways.
What I think is gonna happen is that they're just gonna go word of mouth, and this is why it's like up into interpretation. So, and this is why I'm worried about that. Like, as soon as one fucking Karen says this, it's gonna like be a fucking snowball effect.
That's what I'm like meaning. Like maybe if this law was like towards like hentai, I'd be like, okay, understandable.
Yeah.
But like if it's just like media in general and like the law is so vague, I just feel like this is just like we want this law so that way we can just censor whatever the fuck we want, regardless if it like fits the description or not.
Yeah.
Like we'll just make up a reason for it to fit. Like I mentioned, like the like Steven Universe or the Owl House, like, ooh, that's these kids are like in a same-sex relationship. That's it. This is like inappropriate. Ban it. When like the shows themselves are like harmless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually so sad this is happening in Texas because like it birthed like so many like gaming companies, game developers, and like studios like Rooster Teeth, and then like Ruby for the longest time is depictions of minors, and I guess you can say not like sexual situations, but like in situations where I guess would be like obscene, I guess, more or less, depending on how you. And again, this is like depending on how you see it. This is up to interpretation. The fact that they're trying to have like a whole like blanket statement for what could be considered this is just obscene. I look at that. Look at that. That's ironically obscene or unironically obscene.
Like again, like if you're like banning like like porn that has like I guess lolly characters, okay, that's fine. But it's like if it's like a TV show and it got through like the television, like the television like censor people, like okay, this is able to be aired on television, it should just be fine. You know what I mean? Like if it's on TV, that is already just like okay, we looked at this, so we're gonna give it rated R. It's fine for TV, but like I don't know. Again, like I don't know how well they're gonna enforce this because again, like people pirate anime. It's like the one thing people pirate.
Dakota,
so like
Dakota, I have some bad news for you. The fact when you mention it's like trying to ban porn, that's what Texas
I know they're
did
trying
already.
to do it.
No, that they succeeded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
I've heard they've been trying to do that, and I bet they did succeed.
Is corn banned in the U.S.? Oh, that's interesting. Due to age average law. Oh, well, it's not. Okay, so in Texas. Uh. Oh, okay. Pornhub has blocked access to its platform in Texas, citing the state's new age verification laws. Frustrated Texans must now scatter to the winds in search of explicit imagery. uh, okay, so they didn't ban Pornhub. They basically made it so difficult to access their platform that they said, "Fuck it, we're just pulling out of." Ironically, pulling out of Texas. So that's interesting.
You know, like kind of related, but like, you know, like the whole thing with Canada that's going right now and how they're like, because of what's going on with the current presidency, they're gonna like stop selling Canadian goods in America and they're gonna stop buying American goods over there. They're like, really, they're not buying American stuff over there. They're like really protesting really good.
Mm-hmm.
But like someone pointed out, like if we lose stuff from Canada, you do realize Pornhub is a Canadian website.
Oh, shit.
I don't know. That's funny. He's like, and now everyone's like, wait a minute, we gotta stop the president. Let's not piss off the Canadians here.
Yeah. That's the one thing you don't want to do is pissing off the Gooners. Like, you really don't. That's why a lot of shit that's like happening like Marvel Rivals, like you do not want to take that away from them. Especially Marvel Rivals. I forgot what it was, but I think it was like because of all the tariffs and everything that's happening, like they were wanting to like ban all Chinese companies or Chinese trade companies with the United States. And one of them was the company that owns Marvel Rivals, and like you do not want to piss them off. The Gooners, goon.
That's like the whole TikTok thing was kind of like bad because like, oh, they're just banning TikTok, and it's like, no, if they succeed at banning TikTok, this is gonna go for like every Chinese company.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize happens when the government have that much sway when it comes to implementing or overturning laws. Is that it was like, oh, they just did this. No. This is Pandora's box opening levels of fuckery that they can do now that they got away with this.
They purposely make all these like laws they want to make vague and like very confusing to understand, so that way they can like, oh, we're just getting rid of the one thing. It's like, no, this is like a big rabbit hole where they're gonna get rid of a bunch of things, but it's vague enough where they could like work around with loopholes and shit and just get rid of whatever they just don't like.
There is and I'm probably gonna have to send you this video too to give you a good example of like what we just said actually being a sad possibility in the near future. It's Legal Eagle is the YouTube name. Great, entertaining lawyer who
I've heard of them. I don't think I've watched the videos, but I've heard of them.
He did a video in regards to the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and he not only covers the significance of Roe versus Wade, but the implications it could have going forward of what else could be overturned. And he goes, I guess, a significant example of like, and I didn't even know this was a thing until his video. Did you know that interracial relationships were illegal at one point?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and we made a law saying that it can't be illegal. So like, but because of Roe versus Wade, that takes up the makes the opportunity of getting rid of that, and so that's the kind of stuff that he uses as an example. And holy fuck, I don't want. I'm sorry. I'm apolitical, but like when I found that out, that made me shit bricks. That's scary.
A lot of the things the current administrations are trying to do is like very like racist and race coded, and even like homophobic too. Like they just want to like get rid of everyone.
Yeah,
it's really bad. Like I believe they're like right now they're like trying to get rid of the Black History Museum
What?
because they're like, we don't like you like depicting history in a light that makes everyone look like evil racists. But it's like,
That's
but
what they were. Ah!
Like, and like I heard this very sad story is like there's like a government website where like the people who got medals of honor, right? And there's like this guy who's like a black guy, and he saved like a lot of people's lives, like 10 people's lives, and he got a medal of honor. Uh, they deleted his web page, and in the URL they added DEI Medal of Honor, and you know, like that means like diversity, but like they say it means didn't earn it.
That's horseshit.
Yeah, it's really fucked right now.
Yeah.
It's like I saw Solid post like a clip from Kung Fu Panda 2, and he's like, I think this is everyone's opinion on the current like presidency, and it's like the bad guy from Kung Fu Panda 2, like, kill him! Somebody just kill him!
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, that's gonna be it for us tonight. Tomorrow I will be back with Stick of Truth. Day after that, we're gonna be doing our Discord watch party for Ruby Volume 1. I actually looked up the runtime for the entirety of the first season of Ruby, because how Rooster Teeth did it back when they had a contract with Netflix and everything back in the day. Instead of just like individual episodes, they like put it all in like one movie format. So
interesting. They edited them together into a movie.
More or less, yes. And so the first season is like 2 hours and 5 minutes long. From what I remember.
So like the whole season's just edited into a movie, kind of like the Gendy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars cartoon.
Yes. That's a great example for that. And then Ruby Volume 2 is a little bit longer, because like Ruby Volume 1 is like an introduction series, more or less, or an introduction to like the world of Ruby.
The exposition dump.
More or less, yes. And then they actually start like taking off the training wheels come Volume 2. I'm actually looking up Volume 2 right now. They are slightly longer than Volume 1 with 150 minutes, so that is 2 hours and 30 minutes. So they're 25 minutes longer than Season 1. Volume 3 runtime. Oh, I'm sorry, runtime length? Okay. Actually, this actually helps me a lot. Volume 1 is 16 episodes with 2 hours and 5 minutes. Volume 2, 12 episodes of 2 hours and 47 minutes. Volume 3 is 12 episodes with 3 hours and 17 minutes. They went fucking ham in Volume 3, mostly because that's a significant turning point in the Ruby's storytelling, and how this was also the last season the creator Monty Ohm did on the show before he passed away. So they really wanted to do justice for Monty at this time. And when we get into the podcast, we're actually going to have to talk about, I don't know if we're going to actually talk about it word for word, but like one of these days I really would like to sit down with you and show you what is called the fall of Rooster Teeth, and how it pretty much Ruby was a significant player in that downfall for Rooster Teeth in more ways than one. But yeah, without further ado, if I don't see you all again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you for joining me, Dakota. Thank you everyone else for hopping by. Thank you, Callistus. for the follow 6 hours ago. I appreciate it. And I hope you all have a good time. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.